Arbor. Well, we don't have Alan actually.
1, 2, 3. We have 6 members, so we are in quorum.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and start then. It is 7:04. And we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Chris, if you could just watch to see if Alan does hop on here.
Yeah.
We can advance him on to a panelist role. And we'll take a roll call. Chris, could you help us run through? Oh, Steve is here.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay.
Steve, we didn't think you were going to be joining us any longer here.
He's on mute.
I think this was his last meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna say we tried to say goodbye to him last time.
Are you guys talking to me? Are you guys getting rid of me already? I was just trying to get off mute.
Is that you?
That's
That's
okay.
me. Sorry.
That's all right. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order then. Chris, could you help us with the call the roll? And just a reminder to everyone, we do need to indicate which municipality you are in.
Okay. So I will now call roll. I've received regrets from Commissioner Hammerschmidt, who will not be able to attend. Please say here and from where you're dialing when your name is called. Commissioner Briggs,
Yes, here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Borgsdorf,
I'm here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Cornell,
Here, Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Aber. Okay. Commissioner Hammerschmidt is also absent. Commissioner Henny.
I'm here, Ann Arbor, 4th Ward.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Ralph.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Wilhelm.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Zemke.
Here in Ann Arbor.
And Commissioner Dehoney will be absent. And
Okay.
six
No.
or more, we have quorum.
Did you get Jen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Chris. We're going to go ahead and go to the next item on the agenda, and that is the approval of the agenda. We published the agenda last Friday and made some updates on Tuesday. That should be in the link that Chris sent out to Legistar. Could we have a motion to approve the agenda if there are no changes desired?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Jeff. A second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Jen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next is approval of the minutes from April's meeting. Those are linked into the agenda. Could we have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Motion to approve.
Jeff, and then seconded by Frank. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you. Motion carries. We're going to go into public comment then. Chris, do we have any members of the public with their hands raised seeking to comment?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. Would you like to unmute one of them?
Yeah, let me just start by saying that this is an opportunity for all persons to speak up to 3 minutes. Now, I will allow the number ending in 326 to speak first. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Number ending in 326, you may now speak.
Hello, this is Joe Crockett. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Before I get started, I wanted to let you know that I did receive something from Alan. He's trying to get on via phone, and he says that he's been trying to get on, but he can't unmute himself. I don't know. Should be star. Do you receive any other phone number?
Yes, we have 2 more phone numbers, one ending in 083 and another ending in 464.
I think it's 083. I think that's Alan's.
Oh, okay.
Well, Jeff, how about we do this? If you have comments, what you can do is finish your comments, and then we'll advance Alan here and bring him in.
Okay. All right. My name is Jeff Crockett. I have lived in the 04th Ward Historic District since 1980. I am a leader of a volunteer group called the Green Team, which has developed 4 gardens consisting of native plants to attract pollinators. I would like to recognize the members of the Green Team who have contributed a total of over 800 volunteer hours. Elizabeth Smith, Odile Huguenot-Haber, Rita Mitchell, Jeff Crockett, Joette Leoma, Sherry Thompson, Eileen Tyler, Christine Crockett, Ann Bannister, Marcia Benz, Chad Manfreda, Alan Haber, Brooks Curtis, Richard Corson, Francoise Domres, Amy Rowe, Robert Black from Go Factory, Wap John and Julie Ritter, Jeff Henney, and Maura Thompson, Ali Ralawi, Scott Spooner, and Robert Greasy. I'd also like to recognize CM's Briggs and Dish for helping to activate a spigot for irrigation. A personal request to CM Briggs. The sprinkler system does not work at the DDA gardens and needs to be repaired. So if somehow that could be included in the budget, I would be greatly appreciative. I also want to congratulate members of the Council of the Commons with their superb draft of an RFP to be submitted to the Parks Department. In particular, Adam Zemke, Rita Mitchell, Alice Ralph, and Frank Wilhelm did a wonderful job of reaching out to comparable communities to set the groundwork for the draft RFP. Also, Alan Haber deserves credit for planning a series of events at the center of the city over a number of years. And the Council of the Commons has fulfilled its purpose, and it's time now to pass the baton to the Parks Department and city staff for the development of the RFP. But there is another path forward, and that is short-term activation spurred by the removal of parking from the library lot. There would be no financial impact on removing parking. On any given day, there are 500 empty underground parking spots. Why not start by removing the parking just on the northern section of the library lot? If that happens, Dr. Missy Stoltz said to me that she would help by providing several sheltered tables and benches with a solar-powered charging station similar to what is provided in some parks around town. Also, consider an adopted garden program for the remaining 10 garden plots around the library, similar to what has been done in other small garden areas around Ann Arbor and in numerous communities. Each plot could include a sign that promotes a community group or business. Creative solutions such as these will generate interest and engagement in the center of the city. Finally, imagine how the space could be transformed with public art. Stay tuned on that one. Please consider that the end result of the development of the center of the city should be an increase in citizen engagement. That's really what this is all about. As the Council of the Commons comes to a close, I hope you will all continue your advocacy for fulfilling the promise of Prop A. Once a vision has been established with the RFP, I have no doubt that the dollars will follow. This is what we have learned from studying comparable communities around the state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. And I think the other person with this hand up is Alan, 083. Could we advance Alan as a panelist here?
Okay.
Alan, do we have you? You're going to need to unmute yourself to.
Alan, you can press star 9 to unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yes,
you are.
Hear me?
Yep.
Well, I'm just trying to get in to be part of this meeting, and I have not been successful. Now Chris seems to have sent me a link, so good. I mean, in terms of the agenda, I do have a couple little announcements or notices.
Alan?
So there's something I want to say, but I just want to be part of the meeting.
Well, Alan, we're going to get you advanced in here. Are you in front of a computer?
I am. Maybe I'm loading launch meeting.
Okay.
I've done something that Chris has sent me.
Okay.
Launch meeting. My email.
Here, may I advise, given that this is the public comment section, while we wait for Alan to rejoin the Zoom meeting, we continue on with our public commenters?
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
I think, Chris, could you advance the next person?
Yeah. All right. Daniel Adams, you will be given 3 minutes to speak.
Dan? Dan going once?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, I didn't want to be promoted as a panelist, so I clicked attendee and that was the, yeah, Dan Adams, 1016 Daniel Street. The only thing I wanted to mention is, there's a kind of a troubling comment in Mr. Haber's proposed amendments to the RFP that relates to what's really a threat, right? To pull funding away that Library Green only recently committed to the project. I'm not going to quote from it. It's in the text. I'm just hoping that that's addressed tonight, because I think it's important that as this RFP is handed over to the city and the parks department, that Library Green be very clear about whether it's committed to the process and committed to taking the money that's been collected from the public and investing it to advance the project that Library Green was created to advance, and that those donations were made to advance. I think that's important to flesh out tonight and talk about. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Adam.
Else?
All right.
Chris, you can
Yes.
remove Daniel as a panelist, I believe. He says he's a panelist at this point.
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. It shows up that way.
Okay.
We have one more person.
Okay. Daniel Rubenstein, you now be allowed to speak. You have up to 3 minutes.
Hi.
Daniel, okay.
Hi.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I drafted a memo which I will submit to the Council of the Commons during this meeting, so I won't go into all of it here. But one thing I just wanted to note is that it's unclear what the legal basis is for the statements made by the city administrator recently that removing parking from the surface of the library lot would require compensation to the DDA. So I will document that in my memo that I send. And there are a couple of other things as well. I would really like to see the recommendations from the Council of the Commons that are being considered tonight to revisit and include the issue of the comprehensive plan and or the PROS plan, because I continue to believe that being excluded from those two things is a disincentive to donors. It's a drag on the whole project. It is definitely not best practice with urban parks around the country and the world. And so I would really like to see that addressed and incorporated. And I'll reserve any other comments till the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Chris, do we have any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Okay. Alan is once again here. Let me promote Alan as a panelist. And Daniel Rubenstein just spoke. So I believe we all public commenters have spoken at this time.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll make sure Alan can get in here. Alan, can you hear us okay? You want to unmute yourself? Alan?
Got it.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure you could hear us okay.
Hello,
Excellent.
everyone.
Thank you.
Quite upset to get into this little game. Odile had wanted to speak. I don't know why I had so much trouble getting in, and I had so much trouble getting onto the city council the other evening. But
That's okay. We've got you here now. And if Odile would like to speak, she can definitely do so at the public comment at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
We are going to keep moving because we have several items on the agenda. So we closed out public comment, and we're going to go into the working group meetings. And so there are several items that are attached to the working group. And I'd like to go ahead and go into the first one, which is the working group related to future space design. This is the RFP, fundraising, planning, etc. We've commonly referred to it as the longer term working group. So I'd like to note that there are two attachments within this working group section on the agenda. The first one is related to a resolution recommending the RFP scope proposal that is the second attachment to this area of the agenda. We've had a chance to take a look at the RFP scope proposal at the last meeting, and I think had a good discussion. And then we had a follow-up discussion with the park staff regarding that. So I'd like to just note that piece. And we do have a couple hands raised. Rita, would you like to go first?
Yes, this is an administrative question or a request that with respect to the documentation, the resolutions currently are in draft form and do not have headers and dates on them. So my request is that as we proceed with this and as these documents proceed to minutes, that they are correctly titled and associated with the meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think we can make sure that work with Chris offline to make sure that that's clear. Alice, you had your hand up.
Later.
Okay. All right. So are there, Alan, go ahead.
Yes, well, this is, I just wanted to speak right here. This is a beautifully done statement. I agree with everything about it except for its omission. And the question that is critical in my thinking is, where is the commons in the sense of what is the commons in this whole process? And I feel that was
point of order. We haven't read the resolution yet.
That is my reservation about this, but it's a beautiful piece of work, and I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for those comments, Alan. Alice, you have your hand up. Did you want to say anything else here?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and Chris, I don't know that we need to pull up the resolution, but if you want to, do you want to throw it up just so people can see? We've had a chance to look at the document that the resolution is indicating, but if you want to pull up the resolution just real quick.
Yeah, no problem. Pulling it right now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. I'll just go ahead and read this quickly, and everyone can read it on their own as well. As I indicated, this resolution is in support of adopting the other attachment in this working group, which is the actual draft of the RFP scope. So it just says Council of the Commons has been charged by City Council as described in Resolution R-20-397, serve as an advisory body to City Council and provide recommendations for the public spaces on the center of the city block. And whereas after significant public input and discussion within the center of the city task force and during the Council of the Commons meetings and within its working groups, majority of the members of the Council of the Commons have come to consensus around a proposed scope of work for a request for proposal to be issued for the transformative design and planning of the center of the city in the spirit of the 2018 Citizen Pass ballot proposal. Resolved, the Council of the Commons recommends that City Council and the City Parks Department utilize this scope of work when issuing the aforementioned request for proposal. So it is literally just indicating that majority of this body supports the request for proposal scope that is attached to this working group area. Alice, you've got your hand up.
Yes. Now that it's been read and sounds really good, I'd like to move to approve this recommendation
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second.
as presented.
It's presented, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Thank you. All in favor of Alan, did you have something you'd like to add?
I would just add that as this represents the majority, noting there is a minority, I would intend to make some kind of minority report on those aspects that are not of the consensus. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. All in favor of the motion that Alice has made, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion passes. We'll go into the second working group then at this point. And Chris, if you could pull up the resolution for the current space activation, and similar to the previous working group, we have a resolution that is supportive and tied to a series of recommendations. And that series of recommendations is the draft activation recommendations document that we looked at the last council meeting here. So we'll give Chris just a minute here to pull up the resolution regarding this, and then we will proceed through a similar discussion. Thank you, Chris. So this resolution indicates that the Council of the Commons has been charged by City Council as described in Resolution R-20-397 to serve as an advisory body to City Council and provide recommendations for the public spaces on the center of the city block. And whereas the Council of the Commons has created a detailed list of recommendations that links to the document that we are recommending if this resolution passes, based upon comparable communities to create programming, improve governance, appearance, and functioning of all three parcels that comprise the center of the city for use by residents and visitors prior to any design alteration of the spaces. So short-term activation is what we've been commonly calling it here. Resolved, the Council of the Commons recommends that City Council take action to activate and program all of the spaces that comprise the center of the city, working in partnership with interested members of the community and the City Parks Department, and utilizing the aforementioned recommendations and research around comparable communities as a guide to do so. All right. Rita, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
I move that we adopt the resolution as written.
Excellent. Thank you, Rita. Is there a second? I'll go ahead and second it. Rita and I worked on this together. Any questions at all on this resolution? Okay. Alan, go ahead.
Muted.
Alan, you are muted.
Yes, following my consistent concern about having forward the concept and the philosophy and practice of the commons, this particular form of recommendation has us branding the area as the center of the city geographically, rather than as a commons, as a sense of relationship among the people of the city. So I have a minority view on this, though much of the work is very, very good. It's particularly important to see how from below the people participate in the development of programs activating what is going on the common space. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for those thoughts. We have a motion and a second on the floor. I'd like to call for a vote on the resolution. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. And then we'll.
Adam, I'm sorry. I just wanted to note for the minutes that I abstained from that vote.
Okay, we will make sure that is noted, Councilmember. Thank you.
As did I, Adam.
And thank you, Councilmember. All right. So that closes out the working groups section of the agenda this evening. The next item on the agenda is under COC next steps, meaning Council of the Commons next steps. There's a resolution that is attached to this item that will give Chris a minute to go ahead and pull up. But I'd like to just say a few things as he works through that. I've had a chance to speak with, I think, pretty much everyone here one-on-one, and certainly not just one time on this particular topic. But I believe that we're at a phase now where we are working on the RFP, where we've raised sufficient funding to send the RFP out, and that the transformative redesign process, as we saw through the RFI response that we received, responses that we received a little over a year ago, or I guess a little more than a year ago now, that there is going to be a robust community engagement process associated with that. And so I felt that it was good to float the idea, and I think others feel this way as well, that we transfer immediate public engagement opportunities away from this group, dissolve this group, and work to advance the RFP on the transformative redesign, that it will include the community engagement process. So, Chris, if we could see the resolution regarding dissolution of the Council of the Commons, that would be wonderful.
That's not.
Just 1 minute.
I can't help but notice the correlation with my leaving the council somehow.
You've done us in.
You can't go on without me. I understand.
It's clear.
Steve, I felt very personally compelled that was the case. I think others did as well.
In truth, we can't go on without the parks. So that's part of what we're doing.
Thanks for
sharing
providing
the
the link,
reins.
Steve.
And maybe,
Councilmember Briggs.
yeah, thanks. While we're waiting for the resolution to come up, I just wanted to make a comment that how grateful I am to this group for meeting and everybody's time and insight into the recommendations that we voted on this evening. Everybody around the screen has devoted a lot of time to this effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
I'd like to say we're delighted to get this going and to keep going, because it's in service of the voters who asked for it. So appreciate what everybody has done. I agree with Erica. A lot of work has been put in.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris, for pulling this up. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution. Ellen, you do have your hand up, but I'd like to put the resolution on the floor before we get to your comment. Resolution states, whereas the Council of the Commons has been charged by City Council as described in Resolution R-20-397 to serve as an advisory body to City Council and to provide recommendations for the public spaces on the center of the city block. And whereas the Council of the Commons has provided a detailed list of recommendations based upon comparable communities to City Council to create programming, improve governance, appearance, and functioning of all three public parcels that comprise the center of the city for use by residents and visitors prior to any design alteration of the spaces. And whereas the Council of the Commons members have supported the fundraising efforts of the Library Green Conservancy to obtain private funding to partner with the public funding commitment made by the city for the transformative design and planning of the center of the city. And whereas the aforementioned design and planning of the center of the city is now proceeding with a request for proposal to provide for a robust community engagement and design process and plan to transform the center of the city in the spirit of the 2018 Citizen Pass ballot proposal. Resolved, the Council of the Commons recommends that City Council dissolve the Council of the Commons and immediately transfer short-term public engagement for the center of the city to the Parks Advisory Commission until such time as the transformative design and planning process directly engages the public in partnership with the City Parks Department. And I'd like to move this resolution to the floor. Frank, you've got your hand up.
I'd like to second it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and seconded. Alan, go ahead. You had your hand up.
Well, this was a little bit of a surprise, and I did not really consider that the task of an advisory relation to the city council is completed. As Dan Rubenstein said at the beginning, the need to get this endeavor recognized in the comprehensive plan and the pros plan and in the master plan as called for by the center of the city task force remains. And some press toward the city staff actually to do the kinds of hardly controversial developments like Wi-Fi and so on that have just been stalled. We need something that represents the spirit of the proposal A that tries to keep things moving. So it may be that, and my own experience suggested perhaps it is, that the juice of this committee or council to represent the commons is kind of exhausted. But I would say that that is not the case of people in general. And the city council in its previous foresight, it did give recognition, authority, empowerment to the initiating committee to help in the grassroots development of activity on the spot. And we have been doing some of that. So when the recommendation whereas that they resolved at the end says devote this to the Parks Department, it would be appropriate to say in cooperation with the Open Citizens Committee for the Ann Arbor Community Commons Initiation, whose task is to carry out and effectuate the recommendations from the Center of the City Task Force, which over 7 months was able to produce a fairly positive and understanding recommendation about what is the commons in terms of the cooperation and the self-management of resources. And I think that aspect of what the commons is about, that a council of the commons as a learning group among ourselves could better advance. But in any case, if the group as a whole feels like it's done its job by calling for professional help, which certainly can be helpful, though myself, as I think I've shared, thinks that there's enough help right in the town from the bottom up and all around that we don't need to outsource the call for our creativity. Maybe we will find within the town the help that we need. And anyhow, I think there are functions still to be continued. And we've been told many times that the Parks Department is not able to take on any more programming stuff. So our devoting what we could have been our functions to them seems a little without appropriate consultation or a change of policy there that I, as an observant member of this team, has not really noticed. But anyhow, I will miss the opportunities for our conversations. They could have been better, and I do encourage self-education about what the commons is all about. And eventually its inclusion in your thinking. I shared some of these thoughts with the city council when I was able to get unmuted from my Monday effort. So thank you. That's my basic thought. There's more to do.
Thank you, Alan. All right. Thank you for that as well. And I think there are many ways to move this forward. And I think that I am, in particular, are enthusiastic about the direct professional relationships that we've established and the work that Frank and others at the Library Green have put forth to help make that happen, as well as Councilmember Briggs and prior council members who have helped secure the funding commitment from the city as well. So we have a resolution and motion on the floor. All in favor of passing this resolution or adopting this resolution, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
No.
Okay, one opposed. Let the meeting minutes reflect that. All right, thank you very much. So the motion passes, or resolution passes. And we'll go into public comment, and then it's not on the agenda, but we can take a little liberalism and just say thanks to everyone briefly after the public comment. Chris, do we have other members of the public who would like to speak?
At this time, no.
Yeah,
Actually, we just got one public comment. Here, Daniel Rubenstein, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
Get over here. Maybe you can.
Okay. Alan, mute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Are you? This is Odile. Unmuted.
Alan, we're gonna go in order here. We can let Odile speak, but we're gonna go with Dan Rubenstein first. He raised his hand. Dan.
Hi, thank you. Dan Rubenstein here. Well, this notion to dissolve the Council of the Commons, to my knowledge, was not raised in any previous meeting. So to raise that issue and then approve it in the same meeting, I think is wrong. I think if you want to do this, you should wait till next month, because the public has not had a time to consider this, to give comments, or to say what they feel it would mean. In terms of doing it, you say in the resolution something about until such time as, so it's not entirely clear to me whether you intend this to be a suspension or a true dissolution. I can understand a suspension, given that the RFP is in process and the Parks Department is performing a lot of functions that you might otherwise perform. I understand a suspension, but a dissolution, I have to completely agree with Alan. In terms of advocating for funding and recommending funding, any funding from the general fund that goes to the library lot competes with general funding from City Council that might go to parks. So they have a conflict here where they're not in the right position to advocate for this. Not being in the PROS plan, not being under the Parks Advisory Commission, the center of the city, and especially the library lot, are like orphan children who have no one to represent, articulate. They don't have citizens to speak for them except for you guys. They don't have anyone to advocate to City Council or to ask for funding. So this, again, will be another thing that hamstrings this effort. And I'll put this in the memo that I'm going to send to you as well, so it will be clearer and more articulated. But I certainly don't agree with dissolving yourselves permanently, and I certainly don't agree with doing it in the same meeting where you raised the idea. This smacks of kind of a backroom deal. You all discussed it among yourselves. You decided you were going to do this. You put it on the agenda and you approved it. You didn't allow any time for discussion or analysis by the community, and I think that's wrong.
Stan, Odile, would you like to go ahead? You are muted. And Odile, since you are technically on Alan's Zoom, if you could state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Odile Huguenot-Heber. I am Alan's spouse. And I also feel that I don't understand why you dissolve your commission when it seems like the citizens of Ann Arbor empower you to work on this piece of land. I also had difficulty understanding the RFP because we raised some money and it seems like we raised enough money to have bench and table and a water fountain. And that would have been the beginning of a park. We didn't need much more. If citizens were going to evolve, last time I had an event, it was for Peace Day on September 21. And we had a table and right away a family came and they had their picnic on the table. They say it would be so nice if this park in there, we would have table. So waiting for friends that were waiting, we just arrived in town We're having a little something for our kids, and we would love to have a playground nearby the library. So it's just simple. We don't need millions of dollars to do this thing. It's just simple, and eventually people would support it and money would come forth. So there is much money in Ann Arbor, and I heard friends who are just waiting for a yes from the city to be able to donate more. So I think it's wrong dissolving this commission just when you were starting to go, and Adam Zemke and Rita had put a lot of work to make it move forward. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Odile, for your comments. So that concludes public comment, unless there are any other members of the public. Chris?
There are none.
Okay, very good. So I would like to just open it up to any of the council members. I would just like to say personally thank you to everyone here. I think this has been a really enlightening experience, frankly. I think we've all been frustrated at times, but I will tell you I've learned a tremendous amount about all of you, consider you friends, and I think we've learned collectively a tremendous amount about what happens in other communities and how we can apply that to the betterment of Ann Arbor, including residents and visitors alike. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for giving me the opportunity and entrusting me to serve as chair, and have really looked forward to this phase of the experience with you. And you can count on me continuing to be involved in the next phase as well. So I'm not planning on going anywhere either.
Adam, Steve has his hand up.
Steve, go ahead.
See if I can successfully unmute myself.
You have.
Thank you, and just a couple of remarks from my side. I thought these were good discussions. I think with regard to the decision we've just taken to suggest our dissolution, as I understand it, we're suggesting to the city council that they don't need us any longer and they could dissolve us, but it's not necessarily up to us to dissolve ourselves, if I have it right.
That's correct.
And we're suggesting that the work has been completed. I, for one, did not know that this body was taking or considering an action for sort of self-dissolution until I read the agenda and the associated documents. So maybe there were backroom meetings or whatever where this was decided, but I wasn't in those. And I would like to think that the colleagues also were not, and that this was a decision taken upon due consideration of what was before us, and had we done what was charted for us to do. And I think that was the question there. And if I can indulge myself for another moment, I mean, the discussions of the council have been very helpful, I think, in moving things forward. I think I want to underscore the complexity of the site, and a lot of what we have learned over these months is that it really is almost deceptively simple. But in the details, it is quite complicated to get to a comprehensive vision for this site. And it's very easy to put words on paper or to draw pictures on paper, but when you walk the site and when you realize the complexities, it's more difficult. And so the conversations here and the ability to sort of frame it into something that a professional teams can respond to, I think is helpful. So I'm happy with the work. I'm pleased with the way forward, and yeah, I share Adam's sentiment that I consider these all great conversations among friends, and thank you very much for indulging me.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for your service to PAC as well. Alice was up and then Rita.
Yeah. It really, I was really sort of surprised that we got to do this way back when. And it's been challenging. We have learned a lot. And I would say that really we could not do it without parks. And they did join us a long time ago, really. It seems like maybe a year ago. When was it that we presented our request, really what we were doing and how we need the parks to be involved, partly because of the parks being a partner already with Liberty Plaza and Kemp House. So I whether this is temporary or permanent, I think there is a great opportunity at this point to carry forth in participation of the RFP. And with the selected consultant, there will be a lot of community engagement that we couldn't accomplish as a commission. And I think it's really great that we have this opportunity to move forward with the funding that Library Green has come up with the really major donors, and I'm sure a number of smaller donors. And this process will probably help fundraising too, with the once we get into the community engagement and we reveal the ideas to the broader public who may or may not have been listening to our meetings. But I really appreciate everybody hanging in there and doing what you could to get this far. We have a long way to go, and I hope you'll stick with us.
Thank you, Alice. It's been wonderful to work with you as well. Rita.
Thanks. So I want to say thanks to everyone as well. And I see this as something that for me, I feel like we're at this point in time where Ann Arbor is growing. It's getting more dense downtown. This is our chance to move forward with a true urban park, a gathering place that in my vision is welcoming to everyone. Even though I don't have a physical idea of it, that's what I want to see come from the upcoming community engagement process. So I just really feel like we'll be joining cities like Detroit, Grand Rapids, Plymouth, elsewhere in the whole US that have an active programmed approach or whatever, and informal approach to using their public space in their downtowns. So I'm seeing this as kind of like the launch, and I appreciate working with you all. And Chris, I hope we get to work with you on something coming up.
Thank you, Rita. We'll definitely, I'd like to say something to Chris and Heather after Frank brings us home here.
I look back over the time I've been involved with this, which goes back to about 2015, I believe. And just, I was very active in the signature gathering to put the proposal A on the ballot, and just all those engagements. I think I actually gathered about 3,000 signatures. I really had a taste for it, obviously. And I see that process of putting it on the ballot and having proposal A passed by a healthy margin is the way I'll describe it. When you have over 53% in favor of something in today's world, that's a landslide. So I feel like we and myself, we've been representing those nearly 27,000 voters that said we want a park. And I think our collective and individual efforts have to try to chart a course to that end. And I think we are at a pivotal moment with the beginning of the study. And I agree with Alan that this is a town of many talents and deep talent, but we need an official study that will be recognized by all in the community. And I think, to my knowledge, this is the only way to do it. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Library Green, continue to raise funding for the study if it requires more than we've committed. And just to see this forward, it's not easy. I've never been involved in a more difficult project. It seems like, asking wealthy donors at the university for, $5 million for this institute or $100 million to name this school or whatever. That seemed relatively easy. Of course, that's in the rearview mirror, but this has been really challenging. And I want to thank everybody for their efforts and ask everyone to continue in their own way to help this be successful. I've said over and over again, what great American city doesn't have a center to it? And very, very few have it. And, we always show very high in the charts of a great American city. And this is a missing piece that I hope we can create in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Alan, and then Steve, and then we will wrap things up.
Well, Frank said it beautifully. I guess the next step is in very practical terms on May 20th, Saturday, is the Earth Day blooming, postponed from the rainy, cold Earth Day of April 22. So that's an opportunity to gather community, to see one another in a social, happy setting with some good music. Ralph McKee is going to play, other local musicians. There'll be art and whatever can make community, because that's bringing this space alive with the people of Ann Arbor. And I do want to add one other thing, and not at all off topic, but Odile and I went to Berkeley last week for the right after Earth Day here, where it was warm in Berkeley, to the 54th anniversary of People's Park, a celebration of a beautiful community under siege. The university came and cut down all the trees. You can't imagine the brutality, but a beautiful community, a national historic site. We haven't gotten to be a national historic site yet, but the process of getting people involved in creating a vision that brings everybody's creativity to the maypole is going to be something that will be noted all over the world. And we should see that as our aspiration, and everybody's talents that went into this, and not always as smooth as it could be, but we've made something beautiful, and let's keep it going. And I'm very gratified to hear, Adam, that you're sticking with it, and that's what we need. And I think this team will move forward in a good way, each to our talents.
Thank you, Alan. Steve, I saw you took your hand down. I don't know if you had anything else.
I'm sorry. I already exceeded my word count, but I just also wanted to say thank you to our regular contributors, to the Jeff Crockett's and the Beautification Committee and Robert Black and everybody who's really contributed to the conversations, as well as the council members. So thank you for all that, to everybody in the community who's really moved this forward. Didn't want that to be unsaid.
Appreciate that. Jeff,
yay.
I just wanted to, first of all, thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to be part of all this, and I've enjoyed every one of you. But in particular, I want to thank Adam for having been an extraordinarily capable leader of our group, and somebody who has been very patient and creative about overcoming some of the challenges that we've encountered along the way. So I'd very much like to thank Adam for his service. Thank you.
I like to second that.
Thank you both. And I would like to say something regarding something that Steve just indicated. The public commenters, regardless of whether anyone agrees or disagrees with their statement, are always appreciated and should be appreciated for their due diligence to call in and provide input. And we hope that you will not go away. This project is not going away. And we really just want to appreciate all the time that you've put in. I also want to say thank you to both Councilmember Briggs and Councilmember Cornell. Councilmember Cornell has had an interesting background with this project, given her role on the commission prior to being elected to City Council. And Councilmember Briggs has been with us right from the start in her role, and really served as a key catalyst for the city's funding commitment. So I just want to say thank you to both of you, and also Councilmember Dish, even though she has moved into serving on other committees. I totally respect the amount of time that you all have to put into individual committees, and I know it is a lot. And so while we have one committee, you have many, and we appreciate your time very much. And then finally, Chris, we've only been with you for a short period of time, but we really appreciate you joining us for this committee, and also appreciate your service to the city of Ann Arbor and the people of Ann Arbor. And so thank you for all of your work. And Heather, if you are listening tonight, we really appreciate all of your work as well. You spent tremendous amounts of time listening and trying to work through things. And we just cannot say enough how valuable of a partner you were to the commission and also to the Center of the City Task Force prior to that. So thank you as well. And with that, there's no other hands up. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by Frank, moved by Alice. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
See you along the way.
Excellent. And I will note that it is our quickest meeting yet. So
See you at the center of the city.
8 o'clock.
Ah.
Sounds good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.